Hello, welcome to the 6th day of June 2000, or maybe it's the 7th of 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily good life meditation, an exercise that I do every day at around 6 o'clock in the morning to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use the time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with any challenges or opportunities of note, particularly the ones that challenged me or caused me to stumble. I'll go over the 8 objectives of my creed and 1 of the principles, and then I'll tell you what I have in store for today. But before I do that, let me say a quick welcome to the new subscribers to the channel. Thank you for joining me here. I do appreciate that. I have to warn you that I do talk about sensitive subjects sometimes in this personal journal, namely my own plans for death. I do also talk about me in this video. This is a me video. It's like looking over my shoulders as I write in my diary. And a big thank you for your support, because watching my videos, being members on YouTube or supporters on Patreon makes a big difference in helping me to fuel not only these activities, but also the endeavors of the adventures that I do here in Japan, which are released and shared in other videos. So with that, let's get started. And I do read comments, but I hold off until the end, and I respond at the end so I can maintain this flow. But feel free to comment as you like. Just to know that I'm not trying to be rude by ignoring you if you're commenting in the immediate moment. So let's go over the last 24 hours. Yesterday I felt like, okay, in my notebook I don't have anything that says that anything stood out as being challenging. Although one just came to mind. That was, and I knew this was coming all along when we came to Japan, but the need to sit in the passenger seat of life, so to speak, with my wife driving when we deal with things like the government here, financial, not financial matters so much. Well, banking, yeah, that kind of stuff. You know, my wife once commented that in America I did everything. And I guess as a man, I'm an old-fashioned guy, I'm a boomer, and I take pride in being able to do seemingly everything. But here in Japan, I can't do much of anything, which was a problem the last time I lived here. I thought that coming back and being relieved of the need of active fatherhood and work would relieve a lot of that stress, and that was correct. The great majority of that stress has been, or that challenge has been relieved. Nevertheless, still find myself in situations where I have to literally hand over the driver's seat in the case of going to the eye doctor and not being able to drive home. So yesterday was kind of like that, because we're working on my driver's license and Yumiko's leading the charge for 2 reasons. One, because it's with Japanese authorities. 2, it's in her wheelhouse, therefore, so to speak, her natural wheelhouse. Second reason is she's already done this. She had the same thing. She came over 6 months earlier and did the same thing, getting her Japanese driver's license reissued. We both had Japanese driver's licenses before we moved to America in 2014 and 2015. So she came over first, got her Japanese driver's license reinstated. She knew all the procedures to do, what documents to acquire, what translations to services to use, etc., etc. So she's leading the way on that. Still, I have to get used to that. I probably never will. It's the kind of thing, it's the kind of a reality that I just have to accept. Sure, I could improve my Japanese to the point that I could be self-sufficient. That's not going to happen. So I have to, one of my objectives in my book is to recognize true limits and true opportunities. That's a limit that is a hard limit. I'm not going to get there. So I'll work around that. I'll accept that. My wife has accepted it too. So, and I have various ideas in mind about how the future might unfold, given that limitation, that serious, and I won't call it a true limitation, a self-imposed limitation, because I have made a decision that my Japanese is probably as far as it's going to get, maybe some incremental improvements with vocabulary and familiarity, but I'll never be fluent. Certainly not in writing or reading. So that means if I accept that limit, and if reason dictates that Yumiko and I were both aware that this was going to happen when we decided to come back to Japan, and we accepted that fact, then I simply need to manage my feelings and reactions to the best of my ability, which I must say I did yesterday. So that worked out really well. So I guess I do have something to report. Something that I knew was going to happen, which is my sense of incapacity and sense of irresponsibility and not being able to manage my own affairs in Japanese, did arrive yesterday. I saw it coming. I tempered the emotion, #temperance. I used #reason to remember that this was part of the game plan when Yumiko and I decided to come back to Japan, that she would lead the charge for me as well as herself while we're here, just as I led the charge for the two of us when we were in the States, and as we have done the past 4 different times that we've moved back and forth, 5 total now. I handled it well. Okay, if I sound like I'm self-congratulating myself, that's part of what this exercise is. I find where I fall, I point it out, and I attune my life, attune my philosophy to better accommodate, to better handle such situations in the future. And when something goes well, I note that. I point out where principles of my creed were brought to bear that allowed me to better achieve my objectives. So it's okay to offer a compliment. You can say, "Dear diary, yesterday was a good day," and it was a good day. The other thing that I started to say that I got a little sidetracked by remembering I had something there to talk about was the fact that I think I've reached my cadence and I've developed my workflow for my business. I've exercised and practiced it and refined it enough. I know how it works for both. Remember, I have an antique store here. Maybe you don't know that, but I have an antique business here in Japan. Antiques and collectibles and Minge craft items on my YouTube store. I have 3 things. I had to develop an acquisition process and find sources for the items. 2, I had to develop a listing mechanism by which the items could be put on my YouTube store and then use social media to promote them. And 3, I had to have a order fulfillment mechanism in place so that when orders come in, I can process the payment, process the shipping, and bring them to completion. It took me about 3 months of part-time work, on and off, tinkering here and there to get it down. And I think during our walk yesterday, I told Yumiko that I think I've got I've got the business down now. It operates. Now, I'll show you. To get the operation up and running, I listed all of the items on this shelf. This is what I call softypapa's shelf. All of these, some of them are sold and they'll be shipped out this week. But it took me that many items, about 30 items, 25, 30 items to figure out how to do it. And this is what I had all along. I was going to create softypapa's shelf, literally a shelf of curated items that are the stuff that I just really, literally love. Now that I have that in place, this is the box here of all the items that are ready to be listed. So there's about 15 items in there. Those are next. So what I'm going to be doing now that I have say good morning to Rudy. Good morning. Hey, Rudy, say hi to everybody. Now that I have the items, I know where to get the items, antique stores, fairs. We have a lot of antique fairs and festivals here in Shizuoka Prefecture, and very good the flea market here. Now that I have that down, I know how to list them, I know how to market them, I know how to sell them, I know how to process payments, I know how to fulfill the orders. Now that that's all in place, it's just a matter of doing it. 1 per day. And remember, it's all about 1 per day for me these days, right? 1 thing to do per day, 1 antique to list. Those would be separate items. But I could, in a pinch, call it 1. Because I am starting to finally find time to just relax and enjoy myself in retirement. 6 months before I began to really step into the fun. The fun for me is reading, taking off my shirt, and just feeling the improving hot air of summer rising, going down and sitting in the river, walking, having delicious meals made by my wife. It's the just desserts of, 60 years of hard work. Right. There's these little butterflies. I don't know if you can see them. Probably not enough for us all. There's one right there. Can I zoom in? Can I get it on? Can you see it? Flapping its wings. Do I have it even on the picture? Hold on. There it is, right there. Right in the center. There's, at any one time, when the sun comes up, there'll be a dozen of these little butterflies flitting all about in the bamboo grove behind my house. And I've come to realize that there's these different layers, and there's corridors through the bamboo and the big dark area down there. And it's like a kelp forest in the sea. And I'm up here on this balcony, with my seat looking out over it all. And I can watch these butterflies, and they fly with the most beautiful little flittering flight. It's like really slow, and they just meander, and they follow courses. They go up and along and through the corridors. It's great fun to watch. Anyway, that's part of sometimes I'll just sit out here, just watch the butterflies, and then they start up at a certain time of the day, and then they end at a certain time of the day. And the swallows aren't out. The swallows will be appearing soon, and they'll zipping through the sky corridor all day long. And then in the evening, the swallows give way to the bats. Literally, I can sit out here and it's a show, and hear the sounds in the river, and it's, Okay, back to it, Kurt. I think I covered enough of all that. Let's do the creed. My creed consists of 8 objectives. All of these are outlined in my book, Going Alone. And I would say that this is pretty much my instruction manual that I developed for how to live a good life. Because when I was 16 years old, when I stopped being religious, and I realized that I couldn't turn to any established, mechanism of doctrinal truth, or any particular creed that anybody else had, and I certainly couldn't petition any gods because I didn't believe in God anymore. And then I was like, well, now what? Now what am I going to do? Because I need something, some rules and guides. Oh, here goes that little butterfly. There it goes. See how it flitters? Aren't they just the most delightful things? And they do that all day. Just all through the bamboo forest and the trees. So when I realized that I needed something, a creed, I set upon developing my own. And that's what this book is. This book, Going Alone, is about going out. The going alone part is going into the wilderness, realizing that it's up to me to figure this thing out, this life out. I can't rely on anyone else necessarily. I can look to the experience of others and learn from them, but still it's up to me to decide what's right. I have to develop my own constitution, my own reasoned sense of right and wrong, and what constitutes good and bad, and how I want to live my life accordingly, and that was the result. So my creed consists of 8 objectives. These are the things I'm striving to do. These are the things, if I can do these 8 things each and every day, then I would consider it a good day. And then I have 35 principles that are in support of that. The 35 principles are the things that I use to help me to make my decisions. And if I refer to them daily, then they become second nature. It's like learning a karate move, right? If you practice it enough, it's second nature. Likewise with a creed. If I have the creed practiced and remembered and memorized and well exercised, then I don't have to, it's like when something happens to me in life, it's less likely that it'll be after the fact of a bad reaction that I'll have to say, oh, I should have done this. It'll be more like, oh, in the moment this is happening, here's how I shall react. It happens. It really, really, really works to have a guiding creed, to exercise it, practice it, develop it, work hard at developing it, and then live it. Okay, when I started this video, I said I would talk about death. Here we go. So the first objective of my creed is to be always ready to die. And what that means is that I need to have three things have the answer yes. Are my affairs in order? Basically, is my money and finances and my last will and testament and my succession planning, if any, in place? And it is. 2 is my second question. Are my relationships sound? Are my relationships in good shape? Do I have anybody that, I don't have a good relationship with at the moment that I want to have a good relationship, that I can do something about it? And there isn't. I don't have anybody with sour words. I didn't wake up this morning thinking, I really need to talk to so-and-so about such and such. I don't have any of that. It's because I work on it, and because I don't have a very large social circle anymore. And so there's not much opportunity for me to stumble. And when I stumble with my wife, we usually resolve that very quickly. 3 is to ask myself, is my life's work complete? And being a 61-year-old guy, complete is the correct word. So I had my one life's purpose, my main life's purpose, is to successfully raise my daughter to adulthood, where she can be a functioning and capable and good human being, where good is, of course, reference back to my definition of how I define good relative to my creed, which is basically virtue, which is basically working towards the ends of improving the well-being of thinking creatures. So that was my main goal in life. Yep, check, done. Emily's 24 years old, living on her own, being a good human being. I'm very proud of her. That job is done. Hey, I had a bonus purpose. My bonus purpose was to write, to record my creed that I'd spent my life developing. And that's in this book. So my other life, not a word needs to change in this anymore. I've worked on this. It took me 3 years to edit it, 3 years to write it, 5 years to edit it. And after 8 years, it's done. I've read it because I read it every day. I don't read it to self-ingratiate myself. I read it because I'm trying to remember, abide, and share the tools that I laid out in here. So that's done too. So my affairs are in order, check. My relationships are sound, check. My life's work is complete, check. I'm ready to die. Doesn't mean that doesn't mean I want to die. In fact, anything more than ever in my life I want to live, because now is the fun time. Why would I want to die now? It's like I finally made it after 40 years of standing in line for the roller coaster. It's my turn to get on the friggin' ride, right? I don't want to die now. I want to woo for a good 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years if I'm lucky. Okay, enough of that. Number 2, the second objective is to, I already talked about. No, I didn't. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to not waste my days. It's why I stand up a lot, because when I'm standing, I'm more conscious of my posture. I'm more conscious of my actions, my attitude. I'm less likely to have leisure. My desk has no computer. My desk has few distractions. It's very simple. My main thing on my desk is the book that I'm reading and the book that I'm abiding. It's a good use of time. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles and objectives. It's just a mouthful, just add the objectives. And that's the book. And how do I do that? Well, this video every day that I do. I've been doing this every day since 2018. To my best of my knowledge, I haven't missed a single day of doing this. And I do this every day in order to tune my philosophy. 4, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become a man who responds well when things are tough. 5, to perform good actions relative to my creed. 6, to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities. 7, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly, deliberately, and carefully. And 8, to keep my balance. I kind of went a little fast with those last few. Just had a kind of a feeling all of a sudden, the neighbors might have their window open. I hope my voice isn't carrying it, so I got a little self-conscious there for a second. I don't think so. Still, I should be sensitive to that. Oh, I always read one principle from the book when I do this. Yesterday, I keep forgetting to dog ear it. Today it's the principle titled Agency and the Great Indifference. And a quote: I looked at the stars and considered how awful it would be for a man to turn his face up to them as he froze to death, and see no help or pity in all the glittering multitude. That's from Charles Dickens. And the Great Indifference is my term for a universe without God. So I don't believe in God. I believe that the universe is basically devoid of supernatural agency. And I have no reason to think that that's the case. So when I talk about going alone, I talk about going into wilderness and facing down the apparent emptiness, the godlessness of the universe, and what to do with that. Dickens describes very well the feeling that must come from apprehending such a thing. In fact, he describes the going alone moment with that quote. Agency is the exception to that. Agency is us. Agency is any creature that can seemingly have some self-control. Even though I don't believe in free will, I don't believe in fate either. I believe we're compatible with the universe. We make decisions that are compatible with our life inertia and the trajectory that everything happening around us takes. Nevertheless, we have some sense of agency. We seem to feel like we're something in ourselves, and we turn to that as a distraction from the emptiness that pervades the universe. My writing is a short little paragraph right here. Every individual life is an agent, and products of its living are its artifacts. Subtract these away, and what's left is the vast landscape of the great indifference, characterized by an incapacity to observe or maintain any thought or opinion towards well-being, an utter lack of regard towards joy or suffering, a godless backdrop of unthinking, inanimate substance and time. So we balance our agency with the great, to me, seems to be the fact of the great indifference, and then try to reconcile our own lives out of all of that. Most of us, I think, and I think the next principle after this is the principle of distraction. That was the one before, where we spend our lives distracting ourselves with our work and our relationships, our religion, our politics, our sports, whatever it is, to distract. So all the livelong day, we don't have to risk apprehending the great indifference. And then once we see the great indifference, we're faced with an awful task, challenging task, wonderful task of doing something about that. Okay, well, now that's done. Now let's go on to today's plan. I made a new friend, so to speak. I really don't have friends anymore. And I don't mean that in a complaining way. It's a decided thing. So maybe I call him a nice acquaintance. Neither does Yumiko. we just have each other, and that's very much decided, and that's the way we like it. So we have. I made a friend, and his name is Alan, and he goes by the moniker the Duke of Shizuoka, and he lives here in Shizuoka City, and he's an artist, a photographer, and he's opening his gallery in downtown Shizuoka. He had the grand opening last night, and it goes on today and tomorrow. Today from 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock, the gallery will be open. You can find him on Instagram at Duke of Shizuoka Gallery or Duke of Shizuoka, either of those accounts, and you'll find it. It'll lead you to the gallery. He has photos that have the address, etc. So I'm going to go there for the second day of the grand opening weekend today. So we'll leave around 11. Yoko's coming too. And then we'll have lunch downtown. We'll go to the gallery at 3. We'll shop around a little bit, go to the gallery at 3. Wish them well on his grand opening. That's the only thing I have in store for today. Okay, let's go ahead and read comments. Carlos says, good morning, Kurt. Loving your 24-hour live. Oh, I'm glad you're liking that. It's going on 48 hours, but I think I started it at noon 2 days ago. I love the background sound. It's amazing, isn't it? I really, sometimes I'll be like in town and I'll turn it on just to hear what's going on, right? Ooh, there's one of those butterflies again. See if I can capture it. See how they just flitter around like that? They're just starting up their circuit. Soon, at any one time, in about an hour, there'll be a dozen just And I can just sit here and just watch them. It's great fun. Thanks for the feedback on the sound on the 24-hour light. Oh, if you guys don't know, I have this camera. See the camera sitting there next to Rudy's dish? This is my old iPhone 11, and it's been running for almost 2 days straight, broadcasting this scene. Excuse me. Right, Rudy? Thumbs up from Rubles 200. Oh, there's the butterfly again. See it? Okay. Eric is growing says, well, here, you guys can look at see, we can look for butterflies while I read the comments. See if any flip happen. I'll try to hold this. You know what I'll do? Put this here. We'll call this the butterfly cam. Erica's growing says, hi, Kurt. Hope your garden is getting on. It is. Lots of tomatoes coming in. We have a big bell pepper that's coming on, and the eggplants are starting on their way, although I'm not spending very much time out there. Believe it or not, I'm struggling with time. I cannot believe it. I've had other retired people have told me the same thing. Tim's here. I see Tim's here. Maybe he can describe the same thing. Being retired, somehow life just fills up with all kinds of stuff, and I can't imagine how I ever managed to fit a career, let alone the life of parenthood, into this. And I can't get out to the garden enough. Tim, speaking of Tim, good morning, he says. I find accepting my limits is a good way to inner peace. Kind of no point in beating yourself up over life. Just accept it if you can't get past it. I hear you, Tim. It made a lot of sense when I was in my 30s and a new father, because I had to feel my way around the boundaries of what was possible, because I had a lot, of responsibility on my shoulders. And I was young enough to still learn things. I mean, I can still learn things now, but you know what I mean. And there was time. And now I really don't feel any of those things. I don't feel like I have to, there's no great frontier to climb, any challenge or mountain to climb anymore. And there's no more, oh, there's a butterfly over there, up in the upper canopy. Do you see it flitting there? There's none of those. It's right up there. Okay, it landed. They don't land once they get going. Oh, there's one right over there. Do you see it right there? There's one. They're all coming out all over the place. Do you see it there in the middle? Can you guys see it? Tim goes on. It's great concentrating on the antiques. It's something akin to a hobby rather than work, so less stressful than a job as such and more fulfilling. Yeah, Tim, and you know what's also interesting? Because I did do it full-time as a career, as a job for 5 years, and I burned myself out on it. And I never wanted to do it again, but that was 18 years ago. I think it was 18 years ago. Yeah, 17 years ago. Now I've lost, the burnout has worn off, but what didn't change was all of the time that I spent learning about all those things, because I used to write copy for the items and do all kinds of stuff and research. That was before ChatGPT. That's still all in my head, so it's easy to talk about all this stuff. I can pick it up, I know what they are, and I can talk about them in an informed manner because I spent 5 years doing that full time. That's a benefit. Robert, hey Robert, good morning to you. Robert says hi to everybody. Rubies200 says hi to Robert. Mog, hey Mog, good to see you. I'm off to Sweden tomorrow. Yeah, you're going to go see your girlfriend, right? Morning, very much looking forward to it. On the flight and train, I'm finally going to be able to finish my copy of Going Alone. All the best and enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much, Mog. I hope you and your girlfriend have a wonderful time. Thank you for reading my book. I know it's a strange book. I see a butterfly. There it is. I love those things. Isn't that cool the way they fly? And once they get going, they rarely land. Good luck, Tom. I hope you have a good trip over to Sweden. Say hi to your girlfriend from me. Sounds weird to say that. You know what I mean. Robert says hi to Mog. Tim says hi to Robert. There's another butterfly. Mog says hi to Robert. Robert says, I'm sure it sure takes the pressure off, though. It sure does. Elvina. Hello, Elvina. Good to see you. Good morning and good evening, everyone. There's Sam. Good morning, Sam. Oh, there goes Suzumebachi, right dead ahead. That was a Suzumebachi. That was an Asian giant hornet, or Japanese giant hornet, right in the center of the screen there for a second. Did you see it? Yesterday, we had this thing. We were waiting for the plumber to come to do something. And we had the dogs, and the dogs don't like it when someone visits the house. We didn't know when he was going to arrive, so we had the dogs all leashed up. And I've told you guys that Japanese giant hornets all day long filter through these. They come zipping by. They'll come right over here, look at me. They're all over the place. And the dogs were leashed up, ready to go. And we heard the knock on the door. The dogs went nuts. I grabbed both dogs. I went right out of the door. Rudy was sitting right there. He was all leashed up. I grabbed him. We went out the door. And I took them out to the river where I had the car parked at the river. And I took the dogs for a walk so they could do their thing. And then we sat in the car in the air conditioning. It was getting a little hot. But I left this screen fully open like this. Well, the plumber was doing their thing. Yumiko came upstairs to look at the view. And by the way, she has her own room. That's her room right over there. So she prefers to be downstairs. So it's not like Yumiko doesn't have a balcony either. She's got a whole room to herself right there. She can do anything she wants with it. That's coming for the future. Oh, here comes the incoming. See the bird? They do that. They start from way up and they fly down. Anyway, Yumiko came upstairs and she said there was a giant Suzume, the biggest she'd ever seen, in the room, buzzing against the wall. So she went over here and she opened that window, and then the Suzumebachi got out. So, yay. Okay. Rubies. Hey, Rubies. Hey, Sam. So Ruby says hi to Sam. Tim says hi to Sam. Tim goes on. Fun fact, LOL. Charles Dickens stayed at a coaching inn down the road from where I live and wrote in his memoirs that he likened the town where I live as dead as a dodo. No kidding. That's curious comment. The dodo. Well, you know, it's funny how that can happen. I have someone I know here in Japan, in Tokyo, and I keep talking about a community called Yui, which is about a half hour, 25 minutes drive down the coast towards Mount Fuji. And so he decided to come down from Tokyo to visit it. He does like adventures like that. And he sent me a message saying the same thing. He says, I don't know what you're so hot about Yui for, Kurt. It's kind of a dead place. So I guess to each his own, right?